Welcome everyone to my Terracotta Soldier build guide.
This build is more of a fun project and admittedly a bit of a meme more than a viable endgame option, but that being said, it does perform surprisingly well in certain circumstances, but completely abysmal in others. I mostly just wanted to share how far I was able to push this minion type, and in this video I'll share my experience and opinions on the Terracotta Soldier and hopefully share some fun insights along the way.
If you enjoy this type of content, don't forget to like and subscribe so you can get notified of future build guides, videos, and other PoE related content.
So to start, it's important to acknowledge the glaring strengths and weaknesses of the Terracotta Soldiers. Let's begin with the strengths. First off, the spirit to damage cost is pretty strong, which enables us to create a gem setup specifically for bossing. Because of their low spirit cost, we can also run two different gem setups to serve different purposes. For example, one setup could focus on AoE clearing using the Infernal Legion and Wildfire. This is a setup that I found to be most useful for mapping. Alternatively, you could use a setup that leverages Sacrifice to generate a large number of skeletal minions with Unearth before boss fights. And lastly, perhaps the most obvious strength is that you can summon so many of them that they provide decent protection against monsters. But that's where the pros end. And now let's talk about the weaknesses. They are extremely slow moving. They have an awkward default statue state where they take no actions. They don't respond well to the command move function, often doing nothing, moving to the designated area location only to revert back to their statue mode, or completely ignoring the command altogether. So to work around this behavior, you've got to move really far away from your minions, causing them to transform into these wisps before they rush to your side. And in this state, they seem to behave more predictably, attacking nearby enemies without reverting to their statue mode. And for this reason, I decided to add a haste companion to increase their movement speed. Also to help me navigate through the monsters more fluidly and speed up map traversal. And lastly, since they're melee minions, their wave clear is weak. They must travel the monsters before dealing their damage, making maps with doorways really frustrating to play, and they often get stuck fighting a single monster blocking the entrance and doorways. But that's not really a Terracotta thing, that's more just a melee minion thing. I found I had the most fun playing with the Terracotta minions in map layouts that had plenty of space to maneuver. They excelled really well against map bosses. I've tried them against pretty much all the map bosses. I've even also asked friends to join the map so I can increase the HP of the map bosses, and when they've got 10 to 15 million, I'm able to destroy them single-handedly, no problem. And the ideal map content you want to play this build in is rituals, essences, wisps, and rogue exiles, things in which are a little bit slower in nature, and also the Temple of Chaos. The content that you like to avoid when playing this build is tight hallway maps where it's difficult to move forward and reposition your minions effectively. Maps with a lot of doorways, since the Terracotta Soldiers are slow and they're melee minions, so they tend to body block each other. And then certain types of map content like Expedition and Breach can be particularly difficult because they can be really dense and they have monsters that go after the player instead of the monsters. But with all that out of the way, if you're still here, it means you want to try them out. So let me go ahead and show you my setup to give you a place to start. All right, now let's review our skill gems. First, we have our Skeletal Warrior, which we get from our Rattling Scepter. We're going to support this with Sacrificial Lamb so that our Pain Offering targets one of our Skeletal Warriors first. We use Meat Shield to increase their survivability, and Culling Strike just so they can try and help out kill some targets. Next is our Damaging Terracotta Soldier. It's only level 19 right now. You can get this at 21 with the Corruption, so there's room for improvement here. I slotted in a bunch of damaging gems, which is Lightning Infusion, Heft, Feeding Frenzy, and Muster. We only have 4 gem slots currently. There's a 5th missing. We can add more damage. We can add Immolate or any other damaging support. The reason why we can use Immolate is we're having a second Terracotta Soldier here, and he's going to be providing Ignites, because one of the weaknesses of the build is area of effect damage, and so we're heavily leaning on our Ascendancy and these Ignites to help clear. We're going to support Infernal Legion with Searing Flame to increase the magnitude of the Ignite, and then Wildfire to spread the ignite for their enemies within a 1.5 meter radius. And then lastly, we have Death March here, so that as these Terracottas are dying, they're healing all the other minions. Because we have a lot of them, our Skeletal Cleric is going to have a hard time keeping them all up. And that leads us into our Skeletal Cleric. This is just here to heal and revive our minions as needed. We use Ingenuity and Arcane Tempo so they can heal faster and revive more often. Next is the Skeletal Sword Mage. This is just here to provide shock. We have Conduction, Overcharge, and Coursing Current. I also slotted in Lightning Exposure and Strip Away here. And it's not absolutely necessary, but because we're using Lightning Infusion, I figured I'd squeeze every ounce of damage out of the build. But you could just leave this on 3 link if you wanted to. Next is Skeletal Sniper. This is primarily here just to strip away armor from the enemy with Gas Arrow. So the Poison Cloud is going to be doing about 34,000 damage. We're going to increase that with all the different masteries because Skeletal Sniper has so many tags on it. And we're going to be using Corrosion, so it's able to remove a portion of the enemy's armor here, increasing our fizz damage on our Terracotta Soldiers. Next is a Companion with the Haste Aura. The reason why we use this is because we have so many minions, and often is the case is that when you're fighting a boss, if you've got like 40, 50, 60 Terracottas, they're not actually able to hit the boss because there's no room to get close enough to hit. And I figured we put in a Companion to get haste so that all the minions that are able to get in and hit are able to do so faster. Also, one of the weaknesses of Terracotta is that they're slow, so this helps make them move a little bit faster. It also helps us move a little bit faster because we'll be bobbing and weaving through monsters a lot, and this just makes it a lot easier to not get hit. We support our Companion with Last Gasp. They can survive a little bit longer, blind, and maim, so they can make it so that the enemy has less evasion chance, making it easier for our Terracottas to hit. And then lastly, we have Convalescence to regen our energy in a pinch. We support it with Energy Barrier and Second Wind. And we have Pain Offering, which is a large source of our burst damage. We primarily use this on like elites and bosses. We'll support it with Dense Macabre, Ablation, Persistence,
And Vaunt of Rage to give our minions rage.
and then lastly, because we're stacking so much chaos damage for our minions here, we're going to use Despair to reduce the chaos resistance of the enemy. We'll support that with Cursed Ground, and then Ritualistic Curse and Magnified Effect for a larger area of effect. And then lastly, Inspiration, because it does cost quite a bit of mana, and you're going to be using it quite often. And that's basically the gem setup. For our gear, we're going to be using a Trench Timber Spiked Club. Ideally, you would like +2 level of minion skills and 2 sockets here so that you can put in as kappas for the increased spirit. This will net you another 3 Terracotta Soldiers. Then you want a Rattling Scepter with +4 level of minion skills and as many minion damaging stats as possible. You can grab increased damage, increased attack speed, flat damage, all that kind of stuff. You want to socket it with either increased attack speed or increased damage, or you can even do increased spirit, although I prefer either increased damage or attack speed. Then you want a helmet with +2 level of minion skills, a chest piece with as much spirit as you can, as well as an amulet. And on the amulet, you'll also want +3 level of minion skills. The 2 rings are going to be Ever-Grasping Ring to stack as much chaos damage as possible. This, alongside our Ascendancy, allows us to double our minion damage. And because our minions don't cost a whole lot, we don't need a whole lot of spirit. Whereas other builds really would love to have more spirit. There's only enough room around an enemy. And so because the Terracottas are so cheap, I can get away with just making like 20 to 24 of them. That's more than enough. And for the gloves, belts, and the boots, there really is no damaging stats. So go ahead and grab as much defenses as you can. And of course on your boots, you're going to want as much movement speed as possible, which is 35%. For the Ascendancy, we're going to be playing on the left side of the tree. We'll be taking Necromantic Conduit and Blackened Heart to give our minions more chaos damage. Then we'll take Rupture the Soul. Because we're playing with melee minions, we need some form of area of effect damage. Rupture the Soul helps immensely with the wave clear. And then finally, we'll be taking the extra jewel slot. Here you'll just be looking for a jewel that has a lot of extra damaging minion stats. And for the passive tree, we're looking to get as much minion damage as we can. You can find it here at the start, on the sides, in this wheel here, on the sides, in this little area here in the middle, And over here at the top, other things you should note are spirit. So we'll be able to acquire more spirit on this side. We have some nodes that have increased revive faster. We also have a few nodes that give us either resistances or health for our minions. And we also are going to take these nodes right here that give you minion accuracy rating. Because we're playing with melee minions, we don't want them to be missing, otherwise we're losing damage. And the last note that's very important, you can choose to anoint this. You can get these extra 3 points here, and instead grab all of this very much needed ailment threshold and stun threshold, which is right hand of darkness. Because we're going to be stacking chaos damage for our minions, this really gives us a nice boost. Withered on hit is going to help increase our damage even further alongside our despair. And that's basically the tree.
And now we've reached the point of the video where I'll leave you with some gameplay footage. I've included a complete map run and a Chaos Trial boss, so you can get a better idea of how the build plays. If you've liked the content so far, please do me a favor and like and subscribe. It really helps me out. And without further ado, enjoy.